Hi, Acadiana. I'm Meteorologist Dave Baker. Welcome to Let's Talk Tropics. On a Tuesday, things nice and quiet once again as we head toward the peak of the hurricane season, which actually is coming up tomorrow, September the 10th. So good news. We just got a handful of tropical waves out there and really nothing looking too interesting over the next couple of days, but we're going to go ahead and dive into the models here in a little bit and see if there's anything a little bit farther down the road. I did want to mention, though, that we do have some humidity starting to make a return over southeastern parts of the state. So here in Acadiana, I think we're going to be all right with the rainfall, but might see a stray shower along the coast as we get into Wednesday as the dry air kind of gives way a little bit there over the western part of the region. Checking out the cameras outside, we're looking okay with mostly sunny skies, good travel weather, and I don't think we'll have any major issues when it comes to any traveling across the region today. Big ridge of high pressure kind of retreating off toward the northeast. Frontal boundary is out over the Gulf waters, with low pressure kind of drifting off toward the west and more of a ridge building out in the western part of the country. So still going to see a bit of a trough coming up here for the weekend. And anything that would develop out in the tropics would surely start to turn back to the north. Gorgeous beach day over in Panama City, also looking good on Orange Beach. Although, look at the waves there. The wind speeds are a little bit stronger there in the offshore waters now that dry air has come in, so it's a bit more choppy out there. And if you are going to be doing some boating out over the Louisiana waters, or if you're in southeastern Texas, we're going to be seeing those winds pretty brisk there over the coastal areas of Florida, Alabama, and Mississippi and southeastern Louisiana, while locally in the Acadiana region, we'll see light breezes out of the northeast at 5 to 10 knots and seas running about 1 to 2 feet. So there is a look at the Gulf satellite, and again, we do have a frontal boundary that's out here right now and a bit of a low pressure area here that's going to kind of drift its way off toward the west over the next couple of days, and that could bring a couple of spotty showers there over extreme southeastern Louisiana around Lake Pontchartrain, and then tomorrow some of that could be along the St. Mary, Vermilion, and Cameron Parish coast, but not expecting any development. Sometimes you get a low pressure to develop along a front and you can get some development, but there's a lot of wind shear, and it's also pulling in a lot of this dry air that's already in place across the North American continent, so no tropical weather is expected out of this. Got an upper low that's kind of drifting over the western part of the Caribbean there west of Jamaica. Some showers over Belize, Nicaragua, and Honduras, and back over toward El Salvador and southern Guatemala. More of that rain is going to kind of slide into Central America as that upper low continues to drift off toward the west. Got some thunderstorms over the Virgin Islands, part of a tropical wave that's working westward across the eastern part of the Caribbean. And we've got an upper level system there over just to the northeast of the Bahamas. So again, not expecting any development out of that. Several tropical waves are moving westward across the Atlantic basin, but as I said, none of them are really showing any signs of organization. There's some dry air that's out in the middle part of the Atlantic and a little bit of Saharan dust. Usually the Saharan dust kind of starts to let up by the time we get into the middle part of September, but there's still some out there, and that is preventing any tropical activity to develop, which is great news. So the National Hurricane Center, once again, not showing any tropical activity for the next 7 days. Now, our water temperatures are quite warm. Do remember that we have just now reached the peak of the hurricane season, but every once in a while, the Central American gyre can rotate some little lows around it, and occasionally you can get some development. And the reason why I get a little more concerned about something developing closer to home, not only do you have less time to prepare for it, but also because of those water temperatures being so warm and the tropical cyclone heat potential being so high in those areas, that if something were to try to form over the western part of the Caribbean or the extreme southern Gulf in this particular area here, we could easily get something developing quite quickly, especially if the upper level conditions are more conducive. But we've seen a lot of wind shear along the east coast and out over the middle part of the Atlantic. Some of the tropical waves are being influenced by that, but it looks like it's mostly dry air that is starting to get around some of these tropical waves, and that's why we haven't seen a lot of action coming off toward the west. But over the next couple of weeks or so, we'll probably see that wind shear dropping off even more, and if that Central American gyre starts to form once again, as it usually does for the early part of the season and the latter part of the season, some of those home homegrown storms can be quite intense. So nothing out there right now and nothing to worry about for this week, but always something to keep in mind as we go through hurricane season. So let's go through some of the computer models here real quick. And again, this is being pre-recorded early in the day. So we are looking at the older models. We'll have a new suite of models that will come down as we get into the afternoon. But we've got a big ridge of high pressure that's out there in the middle part of the Atlantic Ocean. And with the Euro, as we just fast forward it here just a little bit, you got a couple of little tropical waves that move their way westward across the Atlantic Basin, but not really seeing a whole lot showing up. Maybe a little bit of a low there trying to form along the front off the East Coast. But this is going into the weekend here, and as we approach the early part of next week, you still aren't really seeing very much going on across the Atlantic, which is really great news. And now we've gotten our way all the way out to 10 days. And I don't know about you, but I didn't see a whole lot out here over the Atlantic Basin, nor did I see anything there along the East Coast or even in the western part of the Caribbean. Let's get over to the GFS again, and we'll just kind of fast forward this one here as we go through the week. A little bit of a low developing along a front along the East Coast and racing off toward the northeast. A little weak low suggested by the GFS, kind of west of the Cape Verde Islands, coming up for the middle part of next week. And if that holds together, it could bring some showers there to the eastern part of the Leeward Islands sometime by Thursday of next week. But as we see, even the GFS is staying very quiet, maybe a little bit of a blip there near the Yucatan Channel, but it doesn't last too long, and this is actually beyond that 10-day period. So there's 10 days right there, and 10 and a half days is where that little blip starts to come there over the Yucatan Channel. But the global models, GFS and the Euro, not suggesting any tropical development. Let's work our way over to the Canadian model, which sometimes likes to develop a few extra items out there. You see a little low kind of moving its way westward across the eastern Atlantic, rounding that ridge of high pressure. If it holds together, it would ride right around that low and really doesn't have much of a chance of coming toward the Caribbean or the Gulf waters. I'm watching the western part of the Caribbean on the Canadian, though. A little bit of maybe a monsoonal low down near Panama. But going all the way out to 10 days, again, other than maybe a couple of lows out there in the middle part of the Atlantic, the Canadian model stays very quiet as well. We'll go ahead and finish things off when it comes to the models here with the icon. And as we go through today and tomorrow, that big ridge of high pressure stays in place over the Atlantic, which should steer most of our African tropical waves off toward the west. But as you can see, even the icon model that likes to develop just about anything that's out there is not showing anything all the way through the next 7 days. So that is some really great news, considering tomorrow is the peak of the hurricane season, September the 10th. But I do want to remind you not to let your guard down, because along the South Louisiana coastline, we really got to kind of watch out all the way through the mid part of October. And if you look at that line is a little bit higher than where we are when we start the month of August. So even though things have been very quiet, and we really hope that it's going to stay very quiet for the next several weeks, you can't let your guard down just yet. And any tropical systems could form just about anywhere in the Atlantic Basin during the month of September. So again, as I've been saying throughout the hurricane season, you can be hurricane ready when there's no hurricanes out there. And it's the best time to get these things together because you're not fighting anybody else at the stores. Batteries, flashlights, water, non-perishable foods. Make sure your first aid kit is topped off, and know how much medicine you have and where you would get a prescription if you needed to evacuate. Always have personal hygiene and cleaners available to you. Get your IDs, your insurance papers, and all your important papers. Take pictures of those with your phone and save them as digital. And of course, it's always nice to have a basic tool set. And if there is inclement weather, it's good to have entertainment for your kids, and make sure you've got enough supplies for your pets for a couple of days if indeed you would have to evacuate. But that is not looking very likely here, at least for the next 7 days, which is fantastic news. Well, I hope you enjoy Let's Talk Tropics. If you do like this video, subscribe to my channel and also turn on those notifications. Remember, you can hear my forecast daily on Big 102.1, Planet Radio 106.7, and Freedom 95.1. You can also catch my forecasts on weekends and early week mornings on WBRZ Channel 2. If we're not on your cable box, go ahead and go to WBRZ.com and you can stream us live. I'm done here for the week, but I'll be here on Saturday morning at 10 and Sunday morning at 9. Also, please follow my social media pages both on Facebook and X, and thanks to everyone who's become a subscriber to Acadiana Weather Today right here on YouTube. I'm Meteorologist Dave Baker. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday, and I'll see you on Wednesday.